Now let us discuss Coulomb's law. So Coulomb's law is basically given for two charges. If there are two charges, then 2 point charges to be precise, then they are going to be either attract or repel out each other, depends on what is their nature. So every two charges in nature attract or repel out each other with some amount of force. These forces, the F1 and F2, they are equal in magnitude and opposite in direction. They are basically action-reaction forces. So they are same in magnitude, opposite in direction. If we talk about these forces, then force between these 2 point charges is directly proportional to the product of magnitude of the charges. That is, this F is directly going to be proportional to Q1 times Q2. If one charge is Q1, other is Q2. We are just talking about magnitude. Direction we can decide as per the figure. If they are opposite nature, then they will be attracting out each other. If they are in same nature, then they will repel out each other. If both are negative, then also forces will be repulsive. But we can say that these forces are going to be proportional to Q1 into Q2. That is the product of the magnitude of the charges. If we talk about, they are inversely proportional to the square of the separation distance. So what is the separation distance? It is R. So this force is also proportional to 1 by R square. We can say inversely proportional to square of the separation. And when we combine these two, basically F is proportional to Q1, Q2, F is proportional to 1 by R square. We can say that F is proportional to Q1, Q2 by R square. When you remove this proportionality constant and make it an equal sign, there will be a constant. So it becomes K Q1, Q2 by R square. So eventually this is the Coulomb's law in mathematical form. F is equal to K Q1, Q2 by R square. Let us discuss this formula. So what is K? K is nothing but a constant. Now the value of K is 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught if we are talking about vacuum. And if we are talking about another medium, then we can say K is 1 upon 4 pi epsilon. What is epsilon naught and what is epsilon? If we are saying that this epsilon is nothing but it is permittivity of that medium where these charges are kept. So the medium in which these charges are kept is also going to affect the force, and this epsilon is called permittivity of the medium. And permittivity of the any medium is given by epsilon naught times epsilon r. What is epsilon naught? Epsilon naught is permittivity of free space, and or we can also say permittivity of vacuum, and it is the same over here. So when the medium itself is vacuum, this epsilon is epsilon naught and epsilon r is 1 for vacuum. What about epsilon r? Epsilon r is known as relative permittivity or dielectric constant of the medium which is not vacuum. For vacuum, this value epsilon r is nothing but 1. Now, if we get the values, then K, which is 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught, is, you need to remember this value, and this value is nothing but 9 into 10 raised to power 9 Coulomb per Newton meter square. The unit I will come back to. And what is epsilon naught? If you want to solve this value for epsilon naught, then epsilon naught, that is permittivity of the vacuum, comes to be 8.85 into 10 raised to power minus 12 Newton meter square per Coulomb square. Now, let us come to this unit. We already know that force equals to K Q1 Q2 by R square. Now, this force is nothing but Newton. This K, we are finding the value of Q1 into Q2 is like Coulomb square divided by R square. This is the separation distance, which is meter square. So eventually the unit of K is nothing but Newton meter square per Coulomb square, which is written over here. And if we talk about the epsilon naught, what is K and epsilon naught, how they are related? This is how they are related. K is equal to 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught. So this 4 pi does not have any unit. So whatever is the unit of K, reciprocal of that is epsilon naught's unit will be reciprocal of that is going to be Coulomb square per Newton meter square. And this unit is the one which is written over here. Now let us discuss some important points regarding Coulomb's law. So first is, it is applicable only for point charges. You cannot apply Coulomb's law if you have any other shape. Later we will learn that it is applicable if the shape is spherical and that is uniform sphere, then also Coulomb's law can be applied. But as of now, for non-uniform object, we cannot apply Coulomb's law. It is only valid for point charges. Next is, this force is conservative in nature. If it is conservative in nature, what does that mean? Energy will be conserved and hence we can apply energy conservation given that this electrostatic force which we found using Coulomb's law is the present. Now, the direction of force is always along the line joining the point charges. So, if these are two like charges, then they will repel out each other. So, direction of these forces is is away from the line joining them. And if these two are unlike charges, then they will attract each other. Again, the direction of these forces is along the line joining them. So, direction of these forces is always along the line joining them. It might be away or it might be towards each other. That depends on the nature of the charges. Next is Coulomb's law in vector form. So let us say that we have two charges. The Q1 is kept at R1 vector. R1 is the position vector for this point where Q1 is kept. Similarly, R2 is the position vector of this point where Q2 is kept. If this point is X1, Y1 and Z1, these are the coordinates of the point where Q1 is kept. Then R1 can be written as the position vector of point where Q1 is kept can be written as X1 I cap plus Y1 J cap plus Z1 K cap. Similarly, if the coordinate of this point where Q2 is kept is X2, Y2, Z2, then the position vector R2 can be written as X2 I cap plus Y2 J cap plus Z2 K cap. So this is how we can represent our R1 vector and R2 vector. Now, when we need to find the force on Q1, I am calling the force on Q1 due to Q2 as F12. So this is F12. First, let us find the magnitude. What is the magnitude? Coulomb's law said that magnitude is K Q1 Q2 by R square. But which are? The distance between them. So I am treating this vector as R vector. And now I will say divide by R vector, magnitude of that and whole square. So this is the magnitude of force 1, 2. What about the direction? If I add the direction with this magnitude, then this will come in its vector form. So to make it a vector, I am just adding the direction. For direction, I am simply adding the direction. For I am adding R cap. So I am adding R cap vector. So R cap is the direction, this direction. Here I am assuming that both the charges are positive. Hence force will be repulsive. So what is R cap? R cap is nothing but R vector divided by magnitude of R vector. So this is when you write it over here, this becomes cube and this becomes R vector. So now this is cube and this is R vector. And R vector. Now I need to find R vector. What is R vector? See, think about this triangle. So this is my R1 vector. This is my R2 vector. And this is my R vector. So I can say this vector plus this vector gives me that. So R2 vector plus R vector gives me R1 vector. And eventually R vector is nothing but R1 vector minus R2 vector. And when we put the value of R over here and here, then we can get this formula, which is the vector form of Coulomb's law. So force on one due to other, this is nothing but K, Q1, Q2, and this is R vector cube and this is R vector, which is R1 minus R2 vector. So this is the vector form of Coulomb law. Now if we talk that similarly, if we want to write the force on 2 due to 1, which is this. So here I have to use this vector, and that vector is what? That vector is negative of previously used R vector, and which is R2 vector minus R1 vector. So only this vector will come instead of, this is our negative R vector. So instead of R vector or R1 minus R2, now this will be replaced and we will get force on 2 due to 1. So we can write that force on 2 due to 1 is K Q1 Q2 by R cube and times R vector. R vector this time is this vector, which is R2 minus R1 vector. Here if we say that Q1 and Q2, they need to be kept with sign, we already assume that they are positive. So if you put positive and positive, suppose both the charges are positive, they are like charges, so both are positive, their product will be positive, and hence direction will automatically be same as what we have assumed. What if one charge is positive and other is negative? So here the product is going to be Q1 into Q2 is going to be negative if they are of opposite sign. One is positive and one is negative. And this negative will also be included over here, which will automatically reverses the direction of F21 and F12. So it will be proper. It will directly give you the force in its vector form. And what if both are negative and negative? So if both are negative, then basically Q1, Q2 will again be positive and direction will be same as the direction which we have already found. So they will like repel each other. So you always need to remember that Q1 and Q2 in vector form, you need to put them with sign. Put Q1 with sign and put Q2 with sign. Now let us discuss principle of superposition. So here, what does principle of superposition says? So as per the principle of superposition, electrical force exerted on one charge due to other charge remains unaffected by the presence or absence of the other charges. So let us say that this is the charge Q and force due to charge 1 will be F1, and we can write, if this distance is R1, then I can directly write magnitude of F1 is nothing but K Q1 Q2, which is simply Q divided by the distance square. I am just writing magnitude. This is not the vector form. I am just writing magnitude of this force. Now whether this Q3 or Q2, they are present or absent, this force is not going to change. How can we utilize this fact? If you want to utilize this fact, then we can say, if I want to get the net force on this small q, then I can find all the forces due to individually other charges on it, which is F1 due to Q1, F2 due to Q2, and F3 due to Q3. So, and I can do the vector addition of all the charges. Once I want to get the net force, then I can simply say that net force on small q is the vector addition of 1, 2 and 3. If there are more charges present, get the force exerted due to that individual charge and just do the vector addition. That gives us the net force on this charge. So we can say the net force, net electrostatic force on any one charge is the vector sum of all the forces exerted on it due to each of the other charges. Now let us discuss limitations of Coulomb's law. So first problem with Coulomb's law is, it is only valid for static charges. If the charges are moving with some velocity, then they will have magnetic field associated with them, and thus the net force is not just the electrostatic force, magnetic force is also present, and then the net force will be the vector sum of both electrostatic force and magnetic force. So it can only be applied for static charges. That means the stationary charges. We cannot apply it for moving charges. Now, it is also difficult to implement Coulomb's law when charges are in arbitrary shape, because in such cases we cannot determine the distance between two charges. So we cannot apply Coulomb's law for any arbitrary shape that has to be 2-point charges. Now next is a question. So this question says, 3 charges each of 20 microcoulomb are placed along a straight line, successive charges being 2 meter apart. So this is 2 meter and this is 2 meter as shown in the figure. Calculate the force on charge on the right end. So we need to get the net force acting on this particular charge. So to get the force, what I am saying is the force on this charge, the force on charge number 3. So as per the principle of superposition, we will say the net force on charge 3 is nothing but force on charge 3 due to 1 plus the force on charge 3 due to 2, and vector addition of these two forces. Here remember, it is the vector addition. Let us write the force due to charge 2. So this is, each is 20 microcoulomb. So first I am finding force on Q3 due to Q2. So it will repel this. And what will be this repulsive force? KQ1 Q2 by R square. So K Q1, which is 20 microcoulomb, 20 into 10 raised to power minus 6. This is 20 microcoulomb. Q2 is also 20 microcoulomb. I am saying Q1 Q2 by R square. So by r square, which is 4. So this is the force which is repulsive force due to Q2. And if we say this Q1 will also repel Q3 in same direction. So this is my force on 3 due to 2. And now I am writing force on 3 due to 1. So that is again K, Q1, Q2. Again Q1, Q2 by r square. But this time r is going to be 4 meter. So K, Q1, Q2 is 20 microcoulomb whole square. Divide by r square. The distance between these 2 point charges is 4 meter and square of that is 16. And this is my force on 3 due to 1. And now as you can see, both the forces are in the same direction. So we can basically add both the forces normally. So I'll say force on 3 is nothing but this plus that. And here the K 20 into 10 raised to power minus 6 whole square, that we can take, in fact divide by 4 we can take common, and it is 1 plus 1 by 4. That this gives me 5 by 4. And this is basically K value is 9 into 10 raised to power 9. 20 square is 400. 10 raised to power minus 6 square is 10 raised to power minus 12. Divide by 4. And this bracket gives me 5 by 4. So we can cancel out this. We can cancel out this with 25. So this is 125 into 9 into 10 raised to power minus 9 and minus 12. So eventually 10 raised to power, what we get is 9 into 125, that gives me 1125. And 10 raised to power, see 9 and 12, so minus 3 is still left. So I'll say 1.125 Newton. Since everything is SI over here, so we will say that this is directly Newton. So this is the force, net amount of force on charge Q3. This is including force due to this and force due to that. We can directly do the vector addition, right? We can find individually and do the vector addition because of principle of superposition. Now, next question is, if the distance between two equal point charges is doubled and their individual charges are also doubled, what would happen to the force between them? So let us say that we have one charge as Q1, the other charge as Q2, and the distance between them as R. So they will, assuming both of them are positive, they will experience repulsive force, magnitude of which is given by K Q1 Q2 by R square. What happens if Q1 becomes 2Q1, Q2 becomes 2Q2, and R becomes 2R? So new force F dash is nothing but K, new charge 1 which is 2Q1, new charge 2 which is 2Q2, divide by new R whole square, so which is 2R whole square. And as you can see, this 2 and 2 will make 4, and this is also 4, so we'll cancel out, and eventually we'll get K Q1 Q2 by R square. So that is, it is same as the old force, so nothing happens. So we will say that what would happen to the force between them? There will not be any change between the force which is acting in between them. Now, let us discuss electrostatic equilibrium. If we talk about equilibrium, how many types of equilibrium are there? So first, what is equilibrium? The point where the resultant force becomes zero is called the equilibrium position. Net force has to be zero. We have already discussed equilibrium in our mechanics. And if we say what are the types of equilibrium, there are three types of equilibrium: static equilibrium, stable equilibrium, unstable equilibrium, and neutral equilibrium. So what is stable equilibrium? So we'll say if the charge is initially in equilibrium position, so equilibrium is already there, so that's why it is a stable equilibrium, right? And when it is stable? When it is displaced by a small distance, if the charge tries to return back to the same equilibrium position, then we call that equilibrium as stable equilibrium. So if this is the position where the net force is zero, then this is the equilibrium position. When I displace it slightly and it tries to come back due to some or other force, then we will say this position is stable equilibrium. Next is unstable equilibrium. If the charge is displaced by a small distance from its equilibrium position and the charge basically has no tendency to return to the same equilibrium position and it tries to go away from the equilibrium position, then such an equilibrium position is called unstable equilibrium position. Again, let us say this is the equilibrium position where force is 0. You displace it over here, but some external force acts that way and it goes away from the equilibrium position, then we will say this is our unstable equilibrium. What about next equilibrium? Neutral equilibrium. Neutral equilibrium is basically that equilibrium where you displace it slightly and it neither tries to come back nor tries to go away. So that equilibrium is called neutral equilibrium.